Governor Pawlenty, thank you so much for sitting down with NH Journal, taking the time on your must be a very busy schedule. Now, this is, do you know what visit this is to New Hampshire so far? Have you been keeping count?
Oh, well, I don't know, but it's been a good number, and I was here during the last election cycle for candidates and even the last presidential cycle, so it's got to be
Sure, and I remember seeing your team out here on election day this year, out handing out coffee at the polls at 7 o'clock in the morning and whatnot, so you've certainly been had a strong presence here in New Hampshire. Do you feel like you're gaining traction? How do you feel like it's going?
Well, we're just getting acquainted. I really welcome the process, the retail process in New Hampshire. I really enjoy people. I enjoy hearing their ideas. I benefit from that. I like the feel and the passion and the commitment and the engagement that the people of New Hampshire express as they are kicking the tires on candidates and looking towards the primary. But for me, it's I'm just getting known. My name ID is still low, but as we become known, getting good support, so that I think bodes well for the upside for our campaign.
Something on everybody's mind right now is gas prices.
Yeah.
And last night at the Americans for Prosperity dinner where you spoke, your fellow Minnesotan Michelle Bachmann invoked the phrase "drill baby drill," which came up during the 2008 campaign. How would domestic drilling fit into a Pawlenty energy policy, and would that include potentially drilling in the Great Lakes? Would that be on the table for you?
Well, my energy policy can be summarized in 2 words: more energy. We're going to need more energy to create more supply, which will keep prices more affordable. And as it relates to gas and transportation fuels, this president has been abysmal. He's essentially outsourced the energy policy of this nation to unreasonable and I think radical and militant environmental groups, and we should be drilling. I support drilling in ANWR, opening up ANWR. I support more offshore drilling. I thought the president overreacted by shutting down all deep water offshore drilling in the wake of the disaster in the Gulf. Certainly there's some lessons to be learned there, but to just blanket and summarily shut it all down after a positive 50-year history, I thought was an overreaction on his part. In baseload energy areas, he's stymied the development of many of our key resources, and we got tremendous opportunities. And just to give you one example, we have enough natural gas in the country to supply the entire baseload energy needs of the United States for at least 75, if not 200 or 300 years. And part of that natural gas could be used to supply fleet fuel vehicles or vehicles, which would alleviate some of the pressure on transportation fuels. So I'm an all-of-the-above energy person. This is going to take a committed, concentrated, focused plan, and this president's got it on stall and going in the opposite direction.
In the short term, what do you think President Obama should be doing about the current gas prices crisis we're in right now that's hurting so many of our small businesses?
Well, there's a number of things that he could do. First of all, send the signal to the marketplace. These things about drilling and research and exploration take time. But even if you signal to the marketplace we're going to be moving in that direction over the next few years, that the market then builds that into pricing. So it would alleviate some of the pressure if he would be bold and aggressive and say, we are going to open ANWR, we are going to do more drilling offshore in the Gulf and other places. But he's unwilling to do that. And so the market is building into this pricing uncertainty because of Libya, uncertainty in the Middle East, what they see as a hostile president and a hostile administration. And he should send the signal that he's going to be aggressive. That would help alleviate prices.
NH Journal released a poll that we commissioned this week that shows that a plurality of Republicans and independents in Massachusetts, including a majority of Republican primary voters, oppose the Massachusetts health care reforms that were enacted under Governor Mitt Romney. What's your take on what people are calling Romney care, and do you think this is going to hurt Mitt in the primaries?
Well, I always abide by Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, which is not to criticize other Republicans. When this process is over, we're going to have to unite as a team, and we all share the same goal of trying to restore America and getting it back on the right track. So I don't comment or criticize Mitt. But what I will say is Obamacare, setting aside other proposals, but Obamacare I think is one of the worst pieces of legislation in the modern history of the country. I joined the Florida lawsuit to have it declared unconstitutional, and so far that's been successful. I urge the Congress and the President to repeal it and to really fix our health care reform, but do it in a market basis, not a government basis. And I think it's one of the most misguided pieces of legislation, Obamacare, in the modern history of the country.
So staying on President Obama, this week he finally released his long-form birth certificate. And of course Donald Trump here in New Hampshire promptly took credit for making it happen. You've taken a strong stand from the beginning on this issue that the birth certificate really shouldn't be used as a political or a campaign issue, and I think you've, obviously the events of this week kind of validated that stand that you took. Do you think now that he has put it out there, the issue will go away, or do you think people will simply move on to another distraction like college records or trips he took when he was younger or something like that?
Well, as it relates to the birth certificate, there was no evidence that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. And so there's a requirement that the president be, under the Constitution, born here. But there was no evidence to indicate he wasn't. The evidence was actually to the contrary. There were newspaper publications saying that he was announcing his birth. He had released a summary of his birth certificate that indicated that he was. There were officials, public officials, Republican public officials who were on CNN and other news outlets saying, look, under the direction of the Republican governor, we went and saw the birth certificate. It exists. It's there. It says he's born in the United States. So I did, on those facts, that evidence, I didn't question the authenticity of his birth certificate. In fact, the evidence that was available suggested he was born here. And then beyond that, in terms of where the debate goes next, I hope it'll be focused on restoring America. We got huge problems. We got big problems as it relates to the budget, finances, terrorism, real health care reform, a crumbling education system. I hope that's what we can focus on.
Governor, we subscribe to a news patterning organization, Metro City, and what they do is aggregate news, and they pattern sort of the trends of what's happening on a daily basis within the presidential campaign for 2012, both Democrat and Republican.
Is that like the Matrix, Shawn?
Yes.
You're in the Matrix?
Yes.
It looks like the Matrix.
It does look
this
like
thing. It's very
much
tech-looking.
Do you do the moves in the Matrix?
Yeah. You don't want to see that. Nobody
Does it slow motion?
New Hampshire, to switch it up, New Hampshire is, they do allow in the primary independents to vote in our primary. So I guess twofold. How do you feel about that? And how do you craft your message for that, if indeed there is such a crafting of a message? But it is the fastest trending issue right now within national politics, of independence being the quintessential deciding factor in this election. No question about it.
Well, Shawn, you're talking to a Republican who got elected and re-elected in probably the most liberal state in the country, with some of the largest percentage of independent or swing voters in the nation. And so every politician says, I'm the one who can get the swing voters, I'm the one who can get the independents, or I'm the one who can win some of the conservative Democrats. I actually did it. So I'm not just flapping my jaw about it. I got elected and re-elected as a Reagan conservative, or a movement conservative, in a very blue place. And as I say in my speeches, if you can do it in Minnesota, you can do it anywhere. You can certainly do it in New Hampshire. So I've demonstrated it. I have great practice and experience and success in convincing independents and Democrats to join the conservative cause, not by acting like a Democrat, but by convincing them that becoming conservative or supporting Republicans is a good idea for the merits. So, and I welcome that. I think it's a good exercise. If you're going to be running for president, you first got to unite and excite the Republican Party. I think I'll be the only one in the race who can appeal to the whole party, the economic, social, Tea Party, libertarian, national defense, security, conservatives, and then also go on to be able to actually win the general election.